Welcome to this video. Today I'm going to talk to you about the role of sugar in the low FODMAP diet. Now we can have sugar on the diet. I know that it's the carbohydrates that cause us a problem, but it's only if the fructose is in a higher amount than the glucose in the sugar that it's an issue for us. If they're in equal quantities, the glucose does something very interesting. It holds the hand of the fructose cell for cell and pulls it through the lining of the small intestine, which is exactly where we want the fructose to go. But if there's any excess fructose to the glucose, then that fructose continues on down into the large bowel, and that's where it ferments and causes the IBS symptoms. So normal table sugar, which includes sugars like raw sugar and caster sugar, that's absolutely fine for us, always in small quantities, because the glucose does get tired after a while and stops pulling it through the lining of the stomach. So if you want to use a sugar, you can use table sugar, just in moderation, because it's exactly 50-50 fructose and glucose. Now other sugars that are fine to use are brown sugar. Just go a little bit easy on it, because the brown is made by adding the molasses, which is a byproduct of creating white sugar, by adding the molasses back in again. Now molasses has a little bit more fructose and glucose, not very much, so it's not a big issue, but I certainly wouldn't go overboard with the brown sugar or the molasses. Now you can have maple syrup. Maple syrup's absolutely fine for us. That comes from the sugar maple tree. In New Zealand it's very expensive, so I use it very sparingly, but it does add a lovely flavour to foods. The same with rice syrup. We can certainly use that as well. Now golden syrup is a liquid sugar, a little bit like honey, that we use in Australia and New Zealand. I don't think it's used as much in the US, but it can take the place of honey, which we shouldn't be eating. It's high in fructose. Now the sugars that we shouldn't use ever because of the high fructose levels are the honey that I just mentioned, and agave, definitely don't use that, and also of course the high fructose corn syrup, which so many manufacturers today use in their processed foods, and that's just dynamite for us, and sometimes it's almost kind of hidden in the foods. That's why it's a very good idea to stay away from processed foods on the low FODMAP diet if you've got irritable bowel syndrome. Alright, so as you've learnt today, you don't have to cut out all those sweet treats, but you do have to go easy on them. And if you've liked this video and you want to see more, please do subscribe to my channel. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.